Aloha kākou pau. Once again, this is Pua'a 5 for the Kiwani Foundation, bringing to you another segment on the Voices of Truth series, up until this time being featured on Olelo, and now throughout the state of Hawaii on all the public access channels, including Akaku, Naleo on Hawaii Island, and Ho'ike on Kauai. This last several segments that we've put in the can recently have been done on neighbor islands, and we're here on Molokai, and I'm very pleased to meet with Alex Pua'a.
Yep.
Mahalo for coming down. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us. I've kind of given you some of the background. The objective of our series is to motivate our viewers towards helping to work towards the ultimate possible future for Native Hawaiians. And I know from our discussions off camera before that it seems that you're working on the same thing yourself.
Right.
Perhaps you could kind of just give us some background on yourself, your relationship to this Aina, Molokai, or from wherever you come, and we kind of move forward, take a journey with you over the next 20-some minutes, so that our viewers will have an idea of who you are, what you do, and more so, how what you do really benefits the Hawaiian nation, so to speak, the Hawaiian people, perhaps the broader world even.
Well, I'm a Kama'aina of Molokai, in the Hawaiian sense, meaning that I was born and raised here. And my dad was from here, and he sort of passed on a lot of what he knew to me. And I've been quiet all these years because of the training that he gave me, in the sense that it's not so much one of expressing yourself, it's more one of learning. And to learn, you have to be quiet, watch, and then observe. Yeah.
The style, huh?
That was their way of teaching.
Yeah.
According to him, there were two ways. One was when you reach the age of understanding, which is between 7, 8, or 9, then you are assigned to the kahuna. That was the master of the gift God had given you. And the other way was you were assigned, or was by telling stories. So there were 4 of us, 4 boys, and he would tell us a lot of stories, and we each came out with a different interpretation. And every interpretation is correct, because in the Hawaiian concept that is that we're all at different levels. So our interpretation of the stories sort of helped him to understand what level we're at. And then from there it was more a Hawaiian concept where this is what life is about. Where it's not so much a religious agricultural society, but more a spiritual agricultural society. And that all of nature is our church, so we go to sleep in church, we wake up in church, we spend all day in church. And then, from my understanding, there are 2 worlds. We have the world of reality, where the ancestors have all gone, and where we came from. And then we have this world, which is a dream and a schooling. And everything in this world is simply a dream. And the schooling that we're going through is learning to become good people. And then everything in this dream world has both negatives and positives. And that this life is simply choices. And you have the right to choose whether to see negative or to see positive. And because this life is a dream, everything you disagree with in your life, you change it. And the way you change it is by finding a positive in whatever you disagree with. Focus on the positive, and now this, whatever it is that you disagree with, has nothing to teach you. So it doesn't become a part of your life anymore.
It's interesting, going back to the stories that your father told you and your brothers and which each of you got a different take on, different perception. And you mentioned that kind of indicated that the four of you were on different levels, but it could also mean that the different perceptions were that your real gift lay in a direction that was different from the others, and that what you saw differently, and therefore you were different, and you took a different direction. And so you have four of you. Did the other brothers, where did they go? What did they do? Just to put it into a perspective from the family.
From the family point of view, well, my understanding is I divide our culture here on Molokai into 3 periods. We have modern Hawaii, which is discovery from Captain Cook, 1778 to present day. Then we have Old Hawaii, which is around 1000 AD to discovery by Captain Cook. And then I refer to it as Na'ali, the monarchy of the warrior society, and then the ancient period. My other 3 brothers sort of aligned themselves with the Na'ali period, whereas I chose to go further back into the, I call it the Ohana period.
What do you mean by that, Ohana period?
Where everyone is family, and the rule was kupunas. Kupunas not meaning old folks. Old folks are referred to as tutu, grandparents. But only a few, the kupunas were the wise old folks. They were the ones that made decisions that families had problems with. And then the concept is that we're all trying to climb to the highest level. And because it's a dream, what you're trying to do is become one with yourself. Always called Pono, righteousness.
Balance.
A balance, all of that. And then in order to do that, you have to rid yourself of all the negatives, all the negative memories you have. And in order to do that, whenever you experience a negative reaction, anger, jealousy, hatred, and all that, you're to run through the emotion, but not express the emotion. And then when you're alone by yourself, you call up this memory and then look at it. And then when you re-experience the memory, you'll be experiencing it from a distance. So that you
removed,
can, so you can see the whole picture. And now this negative experience becomes a positive lesson.
A lesson.
Right. Yeah, it was just a lesson. But we took it personally.
Right.
And then
and depending upon how you react.
Right.
This removing yourself and looking at it from all sides, it's obvious, to me, what you say is true. Because then you can see all sides of it and learn from that, and then it becomes something positive in your makeup as you move forward.
Yeah, because from that moment on, whenever you re-experience the same situation, you'll see it in a positive rather than becoming involved in it.
Right. You've been there.
Yeah.
You can handle it.
And then, it comes out to be that the word aloha does not mean hello, goodbye. It simply means to be with the breath of life from God, and which is God's love. And the way I was taught was love is freedom. The freedom to allow the person to make the choices they want to make, and then understanding. Getting into their shoes, understanding why they're making the choices.
It's not about possession.
No. Not about judgment.
Openness. Not about judgment.
Understanding. And once you understand it, there's no problem.
You got it.
Yeah.
You mentioned interesting about kupuna. Essentially, I think saying kupuna is not just about age. And I think a lot of us in our various ohana recognize that, because there are people within our communities, our ohana, people we deal with, who don't necessarily have to be the oldest to be respected for their judgment and
Right, it's not age.
wisdom, I guess is a word, yeah.
Right, it's more, like you say, being one with everything and understanding everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then being able to translate it for the person that's asking.
Mm-hmm.
Because another person may ask the same question, but you have to translate at their level or
Mm-hmm.
understanding of
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I say level, I'm not saying one's higher than the other.
Right.
I'm just saying that
Where they are.
where they are.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're talking about us, you and I,
Mm-hmm.
here right now, currently being in a dream time,
Right.
is interesting.
Right.
It's the way you put it. It sounds like we're almost like we're traveling through this educational process. So that we'll be at a point when we get through it and into the next continuum that
Mm-hmm.
we'll be worthy of participating at the next continuum, the next
Right.
segment of all of
Right.
this whole thing.
Because my understanding is time is a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
It does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
That there is no yesterday, there is no tomorrow, there's only now.
Mm-hmm.
But the choices I made yesterday
Mm-hmm.
is what I am experiencing now.
Mm-hmm.
And the choices I make now is what I'll experience tomorrow.
Which you'll benefit from or suffer from
Right.
tomorrow. Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's no wrath of God.
Yeah.
It's me doing it to myself.
Well, we talked, a little bit beforehand, kind of in that direction that, the problems are, we are the problems, or we are the solutions, or we are both.
Right.
No.
We've been given the power to do whatever we want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just that we're like children, and we don't really fully understand
Mm-hmm.
what we have.
Mm-hmm.
So all the problems that we experience today is actually caused by us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, it doesn't mean it has to stay there.
No. No, I think the problems, the tests,
Mhm.
and how we handle them, and how we come out the other end of those problems
Right.
is that growing process, expanding, our wisdom, our knowledge,
Right.
and I guess it's probably never ending. Goes on, I would think,
Forever.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't end.
Yeah.
But the more we understand that me, myself, and I is not singular. It's
Wait a
plural.
minute. Me, myself, and I is not singing. Okay, I'll accept that.
Yeah, because for every action that you do,
Yeah.
there is a reaction,
Uh-huh.
and the reaction is that you're experiencing is actually caused by you.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you're going to do an action, you have to look at me, myself, and I, plural.
Well, that's pretty heavy kuleana to be responsible for yourself,
Yeah, well, that's
Do you-
all
do
we
you-
are.
Yeah, and do you have to know yourself in order to be responsible?
That's the Pono, yeah,
and
knowing yourself.
And that can be painful at times, I would expect.
Yeah, it is, but once you get through the pain,
Mm-hmm.
then the joy is
It's
greater.
okay.
Yeah?
Well, we had a little discussion with a young lady from Molokai in Mikiala, and she was talking about working in the Molokai community, in that there's no secrets from anybody. You can't hide. Everybody knows who you are, so
Right.
I think it's probably easier to face and know who you are yourself in that kind of a situation.
Yeah,
You
everybody
can't hide,
everybody thinks they know you.
Yeah. Well, I think what she was saying is that, everything's on the table that people can know. Obviously, we don't know ourselves fully
Right.
at any given time,
Yeah.
and there's always room for further realization of who we
Right.
really are.
And that's why this is seen as a schooling.
Yeah.
And in the ancient concept, they say that one lifetime is too short to learn all the lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and not to worry, because
We get another shot,
oh yeah, as
All
many
right.
shots as you need to get there.
as many as it takes.
Yeah, the concept is that death is not death.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually rebirth. You go back home.
Yeah, I believe that myself.
Yeah, like today's schooling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like summer vacation.
Yeah.
But when you go back home, you get to review all your choices.
And get real.
Yeah, and then you have the way I understood it is that in the Hawaiian concept of heaven, there are 7 levels, and in each level there are 7 levels. So the level that you arrive at is determined by the choices you make here. So when you go back home, if you don't like the level you're at, it's not a problem.
Hit it again next time.
You come right back and start where you left off.
Well, it wouldn't. Well, that's encouraging. But very frankly, I mean, I haven't thought of it in that way. But I totally accept the fact that there is no end, essentially, from that perspective.
No.
There is no end, and I think that's maybe why indigenous people, Native Hawaiians, deal with things like death, I think, with less problem than perhaps other people do. If you see it as a part of the circle or the continuum, it's you pass through from one thing to another.
Well, when you go into our traditions, like when they do the burial, and then they invite everybody to meet at a certain location to feed everybody. That feeding is supposed to be a party.
Sure.
Or
Celebration.
That person going back home to a better world.
Yeah, celebration.
Because when the concept is that this body is simply a bowl, and that we're actually light. So when the bowl breaks, then you return home. And they celebrated the fact that you went to a better life.
Well, I think I agree with that totally. A lot of, there are some, some societies in which, and I think perhaps in times within traditional Hawaii that there was great sorrow and wailing and bemoaning of the passing of others. But I agree with you. I think it should be a celebration for the person who has just essentially graduated.
Yeah, I went back
graduated, but it should also be a celebration from those who are still existing in this dream time, the present, to kind of think for themselves about what type of impact this person had. And I know some of the celebrations of life that I've participated in. It was a great opportunity for people to synthesize what impact they had on the deceased person, the passed on person had on them, and so it is truly a celebration. It's like a graduation party.
Right. It's a big graduation party. And then they understood the sorrow, the crying out. Yeah. And then my understanding is you were given a whole year to feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
And on the same date of the burial, they have another party. But this party is supposed to be for the living.
There you go.
And it's saying that all grief will cease, because in grieving, the ancestral spirit doesn't move on into the next world. It stays here and tries to comfort you.
Yeah.
And this 1 year that they give you, according to what I understood, was only a breath of life back home.
So this year of grieving, that's when a lot of people have visitations from.
Right.
And it's kind of catching up, and maybe some things that were left undone, support from the other side,
And then sometimes people are not ready to go, so they don't go, and this is where they're in limbo, what we call ghosted. No one just sees it as,
Well, did you have any relationship with your grandfather or your grandparents?
No, they were gone by the time
They
I
were
was
gone.
Yeah.
So your source was your father.
Right.
Is that true?
Right.
Yeah. Were there others who helped you to get to where you are with
my father
this
was,
Mana'a you're sharing?
My father was what they call the poor, and families that had problems would approach him, and he would ask them the best day for them, and tell him the best time for him. And if that was good, then they would meet. And wherever my dad went, I went. And I guess it was an indication to the old folks at that time that I was being groomed to replace
Sure,
him.
they recognize that, sure.
And then you're allowed to sit there at the meetings, but not to be seen or heard, because it's school time for you. You're not allowed to ask questions until the end of the day, because the whole day is actually a school for you.
Yeah.
And
Kind of a different approach from kind of Western style educating where everything is based on questions. Teacher hand goes up, teacher. Yeah. You know, to ask a question presupposes that you know something.
right.
And the student, listen, watch and listen.
Yeah, watch and listen. And if you ask a question, then you miss the lesson.
Yeah.
Because the lesson is
It's there.
continual.
Yeah.
And then during the period of poll, you're allowed to ask questions. If you don't, they ask you a question. And if you have no idea, that meant you didn't pay attention. And that's okay too, because in the Hawaiian concept, since you're being groomed, a crew will give you another lesson. And hopefully this next lesson you pay attention.
Yeah, maybe you get it.
Yeah.
So you have these opportunities over time. If you don't get it the first time, you get it the second time. But obviously, you wouldn't even be allowed to participate these numerous times if you weren't the one who was supposed to be there.
Right.
Yeah. Your dad took you with you. Your father took you.
Yeah. Of all of us here, there were 5 of us. My sister was the oldest. That's all boys. And it's not a gender thing, and it's not an because I'm in the middle.
So it wasn't an age pecking order kind of thing.
I guess they watch you to see your character,
Yeah.
and then that's how it's chosen. Sometimes you may not have a child, like in my case, so I'm watching all my grandchildren.
Yeah.
Maybe it has to come from a great-grandchild to pass on,
Have you spotted anybody?
I think I have...
I'm sorry, maybe that's not an appropriate question,
No,
but
I have 2. One I tried, they were younger, but as they're growing up in Oahu, they get wrapped up in energy, and then they lose focus. And then I got another one that asked me about it, so...
interest.
Yeah.
There's some interest there.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to push.
We had another Molokai interview a while ago, and she talked about going to Oahu and being blinded by the bright city lights. And I think maybe that's possibly some of what was taking place with the ones that you were considering, you know.
Well, you know, the problem is the Hawaiian concept is everything is energy. So here the energy flows real smooth, nahi-nahi. Whereas Oahu and the big cities, it's erratic, straight up and down, right?
Yeah.
And then as you understand the culture, you understand the Pono, whenever you go to these places, you maintain your energy, and then it becomes fun, because you get to watch everybody get caught up in that other energy.
Another function of kind of removing yourself and observing.
Yeah, because you become removed and you observe.
Yeah. You mentioned you spent a big part of your life observing and listening, and then, but now are you in another point in your life as far as observing versus sharing or articulating?
I'm still learning, because it never ends. But I was told that it was time to teach my people. So I'm trying to open up, but it's hard, because some people are interested, but majority of them are afraid to actually go in there and look at who you are. But it's more the concept of fear. See, the Hawaiian concept is where God is both male and female, and then we're all males and females. And the problem is the male side has the ego, and the ego is trying to control us, but the ego is here to help us accomplish whatever we're trying to accomplish in life. But for that to happen, you have to be in control of the ego. And the difficult part is to recognize whenever your ego's standing up, because it doesn't subdue.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life, it'll be there challenging you.
Mm-hmm. You talked about the male and the female, and it sounds like some of the male characteristics are somewhat maybe more negative than the female. Was that what I was getting?
No,
Not necessarily.
not necessarily. It's just that we allow the male side to rule us.
Control, you use the word.
Yeah.
You know, we had several years ago, we had a kind of symposium, and the objective was for our gathering, we were at a kako to look at characteristics that were positive in settings where we wanted to create, you know, some good things. And there were a whole list of these characteristics, and one of our good friends said, "Oh, I got all of those." And the kako says, "Oh, too bad. Those are the ones we got to work on."
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, so how are you? We're winding up our time together, and maybe we'll have another opportunity. I'd like to spend some time with you myself personally. But what would you recommend to those who are sitting at home looking, if you had just a short, brief phrase to communicate? I mean, you said a lot, and I really connect with what you've shared. What one thing could you share that would perhaps motivate towards this?
Not to be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Because fear is your ego trying to control. Then lean on your female side, which is intuition. Intuition is, in the Hawaiian way of thinking, is kupunas, ancestors,
Speaking to you.
or God speaking to you.
Pay attention.
Pay attention. Just neutralize your ego, relax, and then the thoughts that come in your mind that are strange,
Pay attention.
pay attention to it. It's the answer.
Yeah.
Because you neutralize your ego, you're opening up the gates.
There you go.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. You know, I can, getting a few years under my belt myself, I think all of us have that male or female intuition, the voices, the kupuna speaking to us. And it takes a certain quietness and balance to be able to listen to the message.
Right.
And I hope that those of you who are out there listening to this segment pay attention to this. Maybe it would be a good thing if you had videotaped this and recorded it to play over. There are a lot of mana'o shared, and I really appreciate it. Mahalo nui for spending the time with you. This is Kaio'opua 5 for the Kiwani Foundation, once again saying tune in to Voices of Truth on your public access channel, no matter what island you're on. Mahalo nui loa. We'll see you next time. A hui ho.
Well, I'm a Kamaina Molokai, in the Hawaiian sense, meaning that I was born and raised here. And my dad was from here. And he sort of passed on a lot of what he knew to me. I've been quiet all these years because of the training that he gave me, in the sense that it's not so much one of expressing yourself, it's more one of learning. And to learn, you have to be quiet, watch, and then observe.
The style, huh?
That was their way of teaching. So there were 4 of us, 4 boys, and he would tell us a lot of stories, and we each came out with a different interpretation. And every interpretation is correct, because in the Hawaiian concept that is that we're all at different levels. So our interpretation of the stories sort of helped him to understand what level we're at. From my understanding, there are 2 worlds. We have the world of reality, where the ancestors have all gone, and where we came from. And then we have this world, which is a dream and a schooling. And everything in this world is simply a dream. And the schooling that we're going through is learning to become good people. This life is simply choices. And you have the right to choose whether to see negative or to see positive. And then the concept is that we're all trying to climb to the highest level. Whenever you experience a negative reaction, anger, jealousy, hatred, and all that, you're to run through the emotion, but not express the emotion. And then when you're alone by yourself, you call up this memory and then look at it. And then when you re-experience the memory, you be experiencing it from a distance, so that you
Removed,
can,
kind
yeah,
of.
so you can see the whole picture. And now this negative experience becomes a positive lesson.
A lesson.
Right.
And then it becomes something positive in your makeup as you move forward.
Yeah, because from that moment on, whenever you re-experience the same situation, you'll see it
You've
in
been
a
there.
positive
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
becoming involved in
Right. You've been there.
it. Yeah.
You can handle it.
And then, it comes out to be that the word aloha does not mean hello, goodbye. It simply means to be with the breath of life from God,
Yeah.
and which is God's love. And the way I was taught was love is freedom. The freedom to allow the person to make the choices they want to make, and then understanding. Getting into their shoes, understanding why they're making the choices.
It's not about possession.
No,
Yeah.
not
It's
about
an
judgment.
openness.
Yeah.
Not about judgment.
Understanding. And once you understand it, there's no problem.
You got it.
Yeah. More, like you say, being one with everything and understanding everything. And then being able to translate it for the person that's asking. Because another person may ask the same question, but you have to translate at their level or understanding of life. When I say love, I'm not saying one's higher than the other.
Right.
I'm just saying that
Where they are.
where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this life is a dream, everything you disagree with in your life, you change it. And the way you change it is by finding a positive in whatever you disagree with. Focus on a positive, and now this, whatever it is that you disagree with, has nothing to teach you. So it doesn't become a part of your life anymore.